All right, tell you a little Uber story real quick. This one is kind of dangerous. This is a sketchy story right here, to tell you the truth. So, I get a call to go to a bar. It's not in Manchester. And it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekend. And I get to the bar, and I wait like a minute. And these two girls start coming down the ramp, leaving the bar towards my car. One is probably my age, the other is young 20s. And I look and I see the young 20 girl in the young 20s is stumbling. So she's inebriated. And so the door opens and the older girl's like saying, "Come on, get in the car." Like the younger one is maybe like resisting a little bit, like she's, begrudgingly leaving. So I turn around and I look at her and I say, "Hey, what's up?" And I say her name, which I'm not going to say. And she kind of lights up a little bit. She calms down. I'm like, yeah, I still got it, man. Got that mojo. No, I'm just kidding. So I said, "Oh, there's some water there for you. Why don't you have some water?" And she does what every other person does when they get in the car, start playing with their phone, which is fine. I got my music on, a little Springsteen, The Rising, nothing too high tempo, daytime music. She's got a 10-minute ride, and I'm thinking, why would somebody just put this inebriated girl in an Uber car, and be done with her? Like it's my responsibility to carry her into her house. I don't want to go into where she lives, I want to stay away from that. And so we did a little small chit chat on the way, and it was just odd. I thought that maybe she was not really drunk, but she had a combination of a little bit of alcohol and some pills, because she wasn't slurring her words, but she was a little confused at times. The way her sentence structure just didn't seem right, and she was struggling to put her thoughts together. So okay. And when we got closer to the house, she's like, "Hey, you like beer?" I'm like, "Yeah, I like beer. Of course I don't drink, And so we get to her house, she starts flirting with me. Hardcore, rubbing my face, telling me how cute I am. You've been drinking if you're saying that. And there's a lot of things when there's a little bit of like this kind of sexual flirtation thing going on that you can't even describe. They're so subtle, but all of these subtleties were happening, and I'm like, what the heck, man? But at the same time, I'm like, oh yeah, Greg still got it, Honestly, I mean, I'm a guy. At the end of the day, I'm just a guy who's getting hit on by, a phenomenal looking young woman. And but I just couldn't figure out her problem. First of all, I'm like, why isn't she getting out of the car? We're here. But I don't want to be a dink, because she seems a little vulnerable emotionally. It's hard to explain. If you were there, you'd understand. She's just kind of innocent. She has this innocence to her. And she was saying, "Oh, my friend wanted to go to Florida, but it was going to cost him $500,000, and he didn't have that much money." And I'm just like, what the heck? And so finally, she kind of gets this signal like, I'm staying in my seat. I'm staying strapped in, so she finally leaves. This took a while, trust me. And I watch her because I want to make sure she gets in the building. I usually, when I drop off a woman, I try to, always make sure they get inside safe, even though it's probably not, in my job description, and some of them maybe even feel uncomfortable. But for me, as a husband and as a father, I just feel like it's the right thing to do. So she reaches for the door to go into her condo, and as she's pulling it back, the handle is the only thing that kept her from falling over. I'm like, and then she dropped the water that I gave her, and I'm like, I'm not getting her that. I could have ran up Mr. Chivalry and said, "Man, you dropped your water." I'm like, nope, I'm done, man. So she goes inside, the door shut, and there were people leaving, and they just like snubbed their nose at her. That's how they treated her. It was rude, man. And so I go to leave, and I do what I always do before I leave. I check the back seat to make sure there's no cell phone. Her sweater was on my floor in the back seat. I was like, dang it, man. So I grabbed the sweater. I left my door open. I left my phone right there, and I ran up the steps. And now once you go inside the front door of the condo, there's a second door you have to go in, and that it's a key entry. And she's got that little backpack purse, and she's like, Gregory. The app is so formal. It's got my name right off my license. Gregory. Say, your sweater. Oh, thank you. And she's giving me those, puppy dog eyes, And I'm like, where's your key? She's like, it's in my purse. So I took the purse off her back, dug through it. I put her water back in. I got her key. I opened the door. I put the key back in her. No, I don't remember what I did with that afterwards. And I opened the door, and she came inside, and she's just looking at me like, you really leaving? Like that, I'm like, yeah, I was gone. And thank God, these phones having a tracking device on them can be a curse, and it can be a blessing. And it's a blessing because in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't even carry her up the stairs to go to her room, because this phone is gonna say, Uber's gonna say, hey, why were you at this girl's house for X amount of time after you dropped her off? They'll deactivate you, or the things that could have gone. There's so many things that could have gone wrong. I could have gone in there. I could have been seduced by this girl the way she was talking to me, and taken advantage of her, which is what it would have been. And she wake up the next day, both of us feeling guilt. Maybe her texting me for more or some of that, hey, maybe she might want some more of that, And then I'm going to be like, hiding from my wife. Oh, I got this hot babe texting me now, wanting some more loving, Or she could call Uber and say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, the cops are knocking on my door. My name's in the paper. My reputation is ruined. My marriage is ruined. My daughter, I have no respect for my daughter, my wife, my church. All because somebody at this bar decided to just throw in an Uber and be done with her and send this drunk girl. But you know what? And I got no respect for the people at that bar that did that. That woman could have gave her a 10-minute ride home and been responsible. I would never do that. I would never just throw some random, 20-year-old inebriated girl in an Uber car or any other car. You don't know who's driving, what their character is. And so I started thinking about this. She didn't really smell of alcohol. Usually, a lot of times when somebody gets in my car and they've been drinking a lot, I can smell the alcohol. I didn't smell it with her. And I started thinking, I wonder if somebody slipped her a Mickey, a date rape drug, because she was overly sexually charged, the way she was talking and flirting with, you know how it is, at 2 o'clock in the morning when the bars close, but at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I don't want to say the name of the establishment because I don't even know for sure, but she was, a little confused. And so I'm thank God that I had the willpower and the decency and the common sense to not fall into that temptation of her luring me, and in the back of my mind, thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. I'm not trying to make myself out to be a creepy guy or out to be some altruistic guy. It was just an awkward situation, and that's how the events developed. And I shut that door, and I felt bad. I felt guilty, honestly, because now she's inside the building. She's got stairs to climb up on all fours to get to her room, but I want nothing to do with knocking on that door or opening up the door to her apartment and going in. I got no business in her apartment at all. And nothing good can come of it, honestly. And I thank you, Lord, that that you got me out of that situation. And those situations rarely ever occur. You know, usually it's the 150-pound redhead named Molly who's slurring all over you, getting all, you're just like, you know, rarely ever it's somebody who's as gorgeous as this girl was. And so I caution you Uber guys, man, don't do it. Don't fall into that temptation. Don't take advantage of these girls, because your life will be ruined, and you know, her life could be affected for the rest of her life too. So it's just one of the dangers that we face as Uber drivers. That's my story.